Beautiful. Very, very beautiful. And I know a little bit about the start of it, and I'm sure a lot of people here do too, but let's talk about how it got started and what you did to get going with it.
You want to know why I made it? Or?
No, when you got started, okay, so I know a little bit about the beginning, but make sure that everybody knows.
My first Kickstarter supporter.
But what made you take it on?
I want to thank everyone. So many of you participated in the film. And put your hearts on the line, and many of you financially, and I'm like totally nervous. It's the first time I've seen it on the big screen, and it's just a big wow. I'd like to make a shout out to so many people, but Inda Eaton for her beautiful music, and so many people who worked technically on the film and who supported it financially. You really made it happen. So it began 5.5 years ago, and it's actually a 7-episode docu-series. So this is the first episode. And, it began one too many heartbreaks, to be honest. I think I broke a few of them, for full disclosure. And I just asked my friends to sit down. I put up a gray backdrop and asked my friends to talk about love. The material was very rich, and I asked more and more people. And then 6 months after I began shooting, I went to Australia on a solo trip, and I met Alex Mankiewicz, who's the daughter of four-time Oscar winner Joseph Mankiewicz. And she came on board and did some of the interviews, and we basically did the bones of 7 episodes. And then I've spent the last 3 years on my own, back and forth with her. She lives in Australia, finishing up this first episode and getting it financed. And I just saw it for the first time.
Well, that's fantastic. So before we get to the other episodes, the gist was that when you asked these people to come in, you said, I want you to answer a question, but you didn't tell them what the question was, right? Yeah,
this is what's different from, I think, all documentaries, is no one knew the question in advance. So, it was brave of people to come and sit down. Most of them had never been before a camera, lights, microphones, and I asked them a good dozen questions. So each episode has 2 questions to it. I chose being in love versus love in the first episode because I think that's been a hard one for me. I think so much is said in the throes of in-loveness, and then it can be over, and you can never see the person again, and it's like a death.
By the time you got to the end of asking all the different people, did anybody let it leak what the questions were, or was that kept under wraps?
No, everyone was so great.
Yeah.
And then I finally told people that they knew they could tell people, and someone got very upset. They said, "No, you can't talk about it. You can't talk."
Keep it secret.
And I was like, "No,
safe.
Everyone kept a secret." And there are over 90 people. I think I've won the record here in 35 minutes. And I'm sorry I interviewed 150 people. I'm sorry I couldn't get them all in, but everyone will be in one of the episodes because they all had incredibly touching and wonderful things to say.
So the same people that you interviewed for the first one, they're through all 7 episodes?
Not necessarily. They'll be in some of them. We'll get to know certain characters and love them, and they'll come back in, and new characters will come with each episode.
And did you ask some people to add on more episodes, or was it just the original group of people that you interviewed that you divided up into the 7 episodes?
Well, originally it was going to be a feature-length documentary, right. And I realized that it was so dense in a way. I wanted it to move quickly, but yet I wanted it to be deep. I wanted, the thoughtful things to be included and be a big part of it, of course. And it just, I don't think it would have worked at 90 minutes.
Right.
You know, it worked, so it became a docu-series, which is quite, you know, they're quite prevalent now on streaming platforms, and that's the aim, is to get it to a streaming platform. It's sort of, you know, it started out from a personal need to get to this question of love, but it's sort of become a mission now. There's just so much divisiveness in the world, and I wanted to create something positive, a positive conversation, positive dialogue. I know many of the people who participated in the film spent hours or days afterwards talking to their partners about love. So yeah, to create that dialogue.
Well, it's exceptional because it's not clear at the beginning that there are two questions being asked, that it's like being in love.
Well, there's a card that says being in, yeah.
But in the film, it doesn't indicate that there's two different questions. The answers didn't say that, did it?
Yeah, there's a card that says, that comes in the middle of the film.
Oh, all right. So I was going to ask you about some of those slides also. Where did you obtain all the slides?
Those are not slides.
Oh, I mean the artwork that you obtained.
Yeah, I shot, and Alex also, all around the world, or as many countries as possible, to get love graffiti. Some countries have no love graffiti. Some countries, like New York City, have a lot of love graffiti. So that was a big part of the film. I needed something to break up the interviews, and I didn't want anything sentimental. I didn't want to see a couple walking down the beach holding hands.
No. They were beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I wanted to stay away from...
Beautifully spaced as well, to cut into the thing. I thought it was beautifully cut together. And then, speaking of cutting together, it's wonderful to have the surprise first, where everybody's just reacting to the question, which was magnificent.
I know.
and then coming back, and then you can see them, sort of the wheels turning, and then they're getting conceptual about it, or more abstract, and then very personal about it, and their own personal experience, and then psychological sort of things. And great to see Mercedes Ruehl, who is an actress, looking at the passions and looking at the way characters work, and all drama, everything's about the human condition, and love is about the human condition. So Shakespeare and every work of art.
Well, that's it. I mean, all of literature, poetry, music,
everything.
Everything has. But no one seems to be asking the question, what is love? And I wanted to do it simply in a very, classical way. Gray backdrop, and really just have their faces and their emotions be present.
It's beautifully done, and I think that again, if you did tell them the question ahead of time, you get such calculated answers.
Exactly.
And so that's the beauty of this in so many ways. And the personalities. I mean, I know some of the people. I don't know all the people, but knowing Bill King's unbelievable, and
3 people have passed. I don't know. People didn't see the end credits. But 3 people have passed, but they were great contributions to the film.
And just so sort of idiosyncratic, but all beautiful responses. Now, the question about what's left after it burns away, was that one person's quote?
It's a quote by Louis de Bernier, who's a British author, and I just used it to get people into that subject. As I said, I thought it was an important one to put in the first episode.
It's great. I mean, because everything that was given to them without being really, aggressive about it, gave them more to turn around on, more to work with, and that was great because they needed stuff. A lot of them needed help to push along, but some of the spontaneity of it was amazing. So the idea is to take the 7 episodes and to get it streamed on a platform.
I'm just starting the festival circuit, and I hope I'll meet industry professionals and get it to Netflix or another streaming platform. That's the goal.
So, what are the other questions for the other episodes, or can you not tell us?
I can tell you. Well, I can tell you some of them. The second episode, actually, we speak about the fact that it was the most Googled question for 3 years, which I didn't find out until after I started the film. And I was shocked. I mean, it's sort of sad state that that's the most Googled question. And then, do you have to love yourself to love someone else? And the other question is about fate. Does fate play a role in loving someone? The other episodes, we talk about sex, we talk about social media, we talk about it's the challenges of being in a relationship. What is the secret to love, to staying in relationship? One of the things that surprised me, I asked, do you need to be vulnerable to be in a relationship? And many people didn't know what I meant by that. And for me, it's like the most courageous thing in the world is to be courageous, to be vulnerable in relationships. So that was another question.
Well, there's a case to be made for if you're not vulnerable, are you really able to have if you're not going to take the risk and no risk, no reward. So.
But every single question led to complete opposite answers. I mean, it was just amazing. And I think love is the healing force. I think it can heal ourselves. I think it can heal the world. It can heal the planet. But then there's relational love, and that's much more complicated.
Well, it's true. But relational love, I mean, even in families, there's a relationship involved in families. And
and people do speak about their families and their children and their dogs, and there's
and friendship
and friendship,
all kinds of,
and all that is in the film. But I centered basically on romantic love, and
it's fantastic. And I'm going to let the audience have some questions. But before I do that, I want to say, I guess you're not going to tell us how it turns out.
Well, it doesn't turn out anyway. That's the thing. Basically, I wanted to create a dialogue. I wanted to create this conversation. So there are no answers because every question has the full range.
Right.
Of love doesn't exist, as you've heard.
But it's the question that needs to be asked, as you say, and I think it's the way forward for all of us. So we have questions from any of the people. We don't have that much time left, but we have questions. Right over here.
Yep. Hi, Barrett.
I think you have accomplished...
There's a microphone coming your way.
Oh.
I think you accomplished such a wonderful, diverse look at the most important subject in the world.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, I mean, it's not an abstract, but what we see here is how many different ways people relate to it. And it doesn't make you relate or not relate to how they feel. Mm-hmm. Because you feel how you feel and you're not sure how you feel yourself. But that's what it's all about, and you kind of relate it in such a beautiful, sentimental way of people to say how they feel. I was even there and I wasn't sure what I was saying.
No one remembers what they said.
But I really think that it has to be watched over and over to get some little sentiments of what people feel, how we relate to it or not, and then we can internalize it. But basically, everybody is individual, and we have individual relationship.
Yeah. It's very personal.
But I think we dealt with so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that. Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? The Douglas Elliman part of the room?
Nancy.
The lighting is beautiful. Everyone looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And my cinematographer is doing a job in LA, and he couldn't be here. There were two cameras. One was fixed, and one was on a slider. So we had the moving camera, and he also did audio. So big feat. And Don Lenzer also came on at the end and did some interviews. And We have audio here in the front row, and it's been a community project.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my question is,
Yes.
do you feel better now than when you started it?
Do I feel better?
Yeah, about love. Because I feel better. I feel like I'm not alone because love is crazy. And I think I agree with Ruth. I think you did a really beautiful job of, I don't want to say demystifying it, but maybe making it a little more understood. That how complex it is, and yet how much it befuddles everyone. So my question to you really, though, is you said you started it after having all of these heartbreaks. Do you feel a little bit better now that your baby is flying?
I'm waiting.
You let us know how it turns out.
I'm exhausted, but yeah, I think the biggest effect of the film on me is just that I tell people I love them more easily.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, and thank you so much for bringing us this film. We're out of time now. Everybody, hats off.
Thank you so much, everyone. You made it
Thank you so
happen.
much. So beautiful.